You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us. And we appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and watching, and however you're listening and you're watching, we appreciate you guys for listening and for watching. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Kennedy Miller.
What's going on, my man?
Nothing too much, man. Where can the folks find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _ Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. And joining us here, friend of the show, SinLawPreps.com, Lamar Gafford. Lamar, how you doing, dog?
I am doing pretty good. Lamar Gafford continues to tour America.
Where are you tonight, actually, Lamar?
I am live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So I might try to, get a chance to see how Alabama looks like a little bit here. But yeah, just been out here after my trip to South Carolina and getting a chance to see a wedding. So good things there.
All right. We have to thank our live streamers on our official Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel. Don't forget, put your questions or your comments live in the stream. You never know. We might just read them out here on the show. And guys, I said S as in sangria. I should have said S as in searching for answers, because that's what the Dallas Mavericks are doing currently as they're down 0-2 to the Boston Celtics, as they lost tonight 105-98. Jrue Holiday led Boston with 26 points on 11 of 14 shooting. Luka Doncic led all scorers with a 32-point, 11 rebound, and 11 assist evening. So, Lamar, you are our resident Dallas Mavericks fan. Just first of all, Lamar, again, we're going to do like a feeling thermometer. Like, how are you feeling? Are you ready to push the panic button here, Lamar? Down 0-2.
I'm kind of ready at this point right now. I mean, I know I did say Mavs in 6. That ain't happening. So that might be Mavs in 7 at this point right now. But I think at this point, I mean, it's like you just don't have any answers. I think the thing is, Luka comes back. He has a very good game. He has a triple-double. But it seemed like in the first half, everything was going good. And then next thing you know, in the second half, it just kind of worn down a little bit. And even at the point right there where there wasn't really a consistent player that was really stepping up and trying to take the pressure off of him. Gafford at one point in time was doing that for a good point, but they still need to find some type of consistency when it comes to trying to find somebody that can really keep things going. Obviously, you're getting some good production from PJ Washington scoring, Gafford doing everything. But the other thing is, from the bench, they didn't really have, anybody that really stepped up there and that kind of could take some of that pressure off. And it just was one of those things here where, our star didn't really have the supporting pieces or the support that he needed. But if you look at what the Celtics did here, they had the best support and everything else like that because, my God, Jrue Holiday. I mean, and I know we'll talk about him, but yeah, he was incredible in the game offensively and, of course, impacting the game defensively too.
I think, we kind of talked about it with Porzingis in game 1, but when you have a role player step up to give you what Jrue Holiday gave you, 25 and 11.
Yep.
I think this is what Lamar was going to hit on, but there's a reason why that guy, when he was available, leaving New Orleans, every team had inquired about trading for him because although he might not be, quote unquote, a superstar, he brings a superstar value to a team, right? And that is why many of us at the beginning of the year picked Boston, because you had that guy with a team that's had so much playoff success And even though we didn't think Boston was going to win, and like I said, like I would have liked for them to play against Milwaukee and Philadelphia, healthy, and Miami healthy, you cannot quantify the impact that Drew Holiday brings to a team, right? Luka played well. He had a triple-double. He also had 8 turnovers on, right? And it's been a problem for him in this series of where can we hide Luka? Because against most teams you can hide him somewhere, but this Boston team, everybody is a threat. And so they're going to make him work. Like, they're going to make him exert energy on the defensive end. We've, heard it time and time again with great players, like Steph Curry. We heard that, all throughout those years, like, you got to make him guard. You got to make him use his legs on defense. And it's the same thing with Luka. Like, he's on the injury report for 3 different reasons. He's banged up, like, he's not about to just drop 30 on us and we're just going to let him guard somebody in the wing on the corner. Like, all these dudes can put the ball on the floor. All these dudes, for the most part, can score. And even though I wholeheartedly believe that, Luka and Kyrie are better than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and even though Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have not had, quote-unquote, great games by stats and efficiency standards, these guys are putting the Mavericks in the rotation. They're making good plays. And for the most part, they're generating good shots. And so it is becoming a problem for Dallas to be able to defend that, right? Especially when you're trying to hide multiple guys, right? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are generating good shots. They're making that Dallas defense they're not able to just 2 people aren't just able to guard. Everybody has to be in rotation almost every time. They're getting good dribble penetration, and they're making the right plays. And we talked about it in game 1. Boston puts up so many threes, right? What we said, it was 42 last game. I think they shot 39 this game.
Yep.
Right. And you looked, right, and they couldn't shoot. I want to say in the first half, I can't remember what
the 3 for 15.
And they were winning by like 6 or 8.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, well, eventually that's just going to turn, right? And it's part of the analytics. It's part of the analytics mind, because they might be one of the first true analytic teams to really pull this off if they win a championship. Like, they are very analytics based. Like, we're going to shoot so many threes that you cannot keep up. We have 2 people that can get in the paint, generate paint touches, and then cause the defense to stay in rotation. And once we keep putting them up, you're not going to be able to keep up. And it's working so far.
The thing to me that was very obvious, and by halftime, I was like, all right, Boston's going to win this game. Kind of for the same reason you just mentioned there at the end, Ken. I wrote down the numbers. At halftime, Luka Doncic had 23 points. He was shooting 9 of 13 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the 3-point line. Jason Tatum was 2 of 10 in the first half. As a team, they were 3 for 15 from beyond the 3-point line. And Dallas was down 3 at the half. To close the game, Luka had a 32-point triple-double. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were a combined 14 for 37. A combined 2 of 12 from the 3-point line. And Boston won the game by 7 points. To me, that just shows how much more margin for error and wiggle room that the Boston Celtics have with KP, with Derek White, with Drew Holiday. And like, just think about this idea where Kristaps Porzingis, he can't be your best player. If he's your best player, you might make the playoffs, be out in the first round, right? If he's your second best player, as he was with Luka, and didn't quite work, right? But if he is like he's in this situation, your third or possibly your 4th best player, you cooking with gas. You are absolutely cooking with gas there. And with Dallas, it's very obvious, at least these first 2 games, that Luka Doncic has to be phenomenal, efficient, create all the shots for everyone else for them to even have a chance. Because Kyrie Irving's stat line would have looked great if his name was Tim Hardaway Jr. Kyrie Irving's stat line would have been phenomenal if he was PJ Washington. In fact, I think PJ Washington might have finished with more points on the stat sheets than I think Kyrie did. right?
Let's check.
One more.
Yes.
You said one more?
Yes.
Okay. But it's very obvious that Dallas has the best two players, just individual scorers in this series, right? The two guys with the highest, you can call it ceiling in this series, Luke and Kyrie. Boom, right? That's not a question. But it's very clear that Boston has a better, more well-rounded, fleshed out team. Like that's the part that is very like obvious, right? So for Dallas, I'm not quite sure what you can do when Jason Tatum shoots 6 for 22 and you still lose the game by 7 or 8 points. And with Tatum, I want to say this. 4 or 5 years ago, he shoots 6 of 22, and we would have said he played terrible, right? But because he was so active on the boards and so active passing the ball, we can say tonight he didn't shoot well, but he still played well. Does that make sense, Ken?
Oh, for sure. Because, you know, it's what you tell younger players all the time. Like, even though the shots don't go in, how else can you impact the game? And like I said, you know, like him just being able to get in the paint and cause the defense to rotate was a success, right? Luka had 23 points at halftime, but there was a stretch like 5 straight times where he's giving up dribble penetration and either he's fouling or he's giving up a bucket. And those dudes are not doing it on that side. Like Boston, it's very tough to find a negative on defense on that side, right? Derek White's a plus. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown are a plus. Drew Holiday is one of the best in the business, right? If not the best at his position in the business. Al Horford's a plus. Porzingis can block shots, right? So, like, where do you go? Where do you go to find somebody that's like, oh, we can attack this guy. We can attack this Rudy Gobert, right? On this team. They don't have one.
And, you know, that's something I really thought about is that that's if really neutralized for the majority of the first two games, Gafford and Lively, is the fact that Boston does not have to double.
No.
So at that point, that eliminates this lob to Gafford, or, you know, when they double that lob pass, you know, collapse to the paint, kick out threes for Derek Jones and PJ Washington and everyone else. So now at this point, like for me, it's just like, all right, Luka has to create buckets for everyone. And it looks a lot more like it did those first couple of years Luka was in the league when it was just Luka by himself, especially because Kyrie Irving hasn't been giving them much of anything. So Lamar, I'm gonna ask you this question. What should we make of Kyrie Irving not playing well these first two ball games?
Man, I mean, there's got to be either some bad juju in Boston. I mean, maybe he might need to, you know, sage it up a little bit.
He didn't sage the court.
I don't know, man. I mean, it just seems like it's been his Achilles heel as of late. I think this is now 12 straight losses he's had in Boston.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Leprechaun, Sage, I don't know. Hopefully he plays much better in Dallas if that's the case here. But I mean, something's got to be troubling him at this point here and everything. So I mean, I know he's just trying to keep his peace, but man, I mean, having only 16 points, I get it and everything, but you know, they need a little bit more from him pretty much at this point here, especially if they really want to come out there and win the series.
You know what, Lamar, you know what I think it might be for Kyrie? It might be them shoes. Have you seen him? He got on those Dr. Umar ones. I'm like, what are those? I'm like, are those like, those look like some sandals that those folks wear at that Nation of Islam, Black nationalists. We are the gods bookstores where they sell books where they sell books that don't have any endnotes or any footnotes. But they sell books that are just completely self-published. I'm like, what does he have on his feet? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that, or maybe he's hearing them folks in Boston hollering all kinds of wild stuff at him. You saw them burn an effigy of Kyrie Irving at the end after the end of game 1.
Yeah, I saw that.
And look, which is why I said, kid, look, if you are black and you are a black Bostonian, if they win this championship, you need to stay home.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the Kyrie dog. Like, that was crazy that they were stomping out after game 1. The fans were. But, like, I just think that it's just a tough matchup for Dallas because, like I said, I think they have the 2 best players, but after that, it might be like 4 Celtics players that I take before a Dallas player.
You know what this series kind of reminds me of?
What?
That 2013 and 2014 Miami and San Antonio series.
Oh, for sure.
Where Miami had the best player in LeBron James. Like, that was undisputed. He was the guy at that point, right? But San Antonio, if not for that Ray Allen shot in game 6, San Antonio had better teams both years, right? Because especially that 2014 year when it was D Wade didn't look quite right.
Well, I wouldn't even put D Wade as the second best player in the 2013 series.
Okay. Oh, you say it's body?
I would say, as far as the whole series, I would say that Tim Duncan was the second best player in that series.
Oh, no, I was just talking about from Miami.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, like, we were saying that Boston had the 2, or Dallas had the 2 best players.
Right.
I think Miami had the best player, and then I would say, like, Duncan, TP, D Wade, and then come 2014, I would say LeBron, Duncan, TP, Kawhi, then maybe D Wade, because you got to think 2013, they went on that 27-game winning streak, and I think that cooked D Wade for that postseason. Like, exerting that much energy in the regular season, and then they go to game 7 in Indiana. I think by the time he went to the finals, he was cooked. And he had a great game. I want to say game 3 or game 4 in San Antonio.
It was game 4.
Game 4, he kind of turned the clock back that one time, but he was not the same after that. Like, after that finals, come playoff time, I don't remember another iconic D Wade game.
I think that's fair. And something I just thought about getting back to Boston and Dallas is defensively. I'm not sure what Dallas does because it is hard for me to imagine the Celtics shooting 10 for 39 again, especially if Dallas is just playing Olay defense, right? And just because they're just getting into the paint and then kicking it back out. And most of those shots that Boston missed tonight, I want to say, just like off the top of my head, maybe only 5 or 6 of those were contested. The rest of those, Jason Tatum was butt naked open. Sam Howell's butt naked open. Peyton Pritchard's butt naked open. Jaylen Brown's butt naked open. And they just miss them. They just rattling in and out. So for Dallas and Lamar, this is your team, right? And Jason Kidd, you said Jason Kidd's been a great with adjustments, with reacting this postseason, right? With reacting after a loss. What is the move here?
Well, I know he tried before game 2, tried to get in, Jaylen Brown's head, just saying, well, hey, he's the best player on the team. And we can kind of tell that didn't really work. So it's a good question because, like, well, I guess we're going to have to also see how healthy Porzingis is going to be because he looked like he kind of was limping a little bit in game at the end of game 2. So that kind of changes things if he's not able to give you 100% there. But it's very hard because it's like you said, you can't really double these guys because they got open shooters all the way around. And especially you have to have a feeling here that Jason Tatum is going to have a breakout game. Like you said, he hasn't really been able to be himself so far, but he hasn't really needed to be himself so far. So you can kind of tell that breakout game is going to come because, superstars are always going to have that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what do they do here in that case. How do they guard those guys? How do they focus on those guys here and there? Because, I mean, there's the one thing I can just continue to say about Boston is they're just a well-oiled machine. They work well as a team. And whenever you have a team that is like that works very well as a team, and that does not present that many flaws, it's very, very hard to try to stop that team because, if one doesn't have a good game, somebody's there to pick them up, and that's just what it's been like all the time along. I mean, shoot, even when Peyton Pritchard hit that buzzer beat in the third quarter, I was like, yeah, this game's over. I mean, at this point, this game's over. So,
Man, you made me think about something because Kennedy, you and I, we've both talked for years about how Boston will have these big lulls where at one point they look like world beaters, they look like a championship, well-oiled machine, and then they'll have a 5 or 6 minute stretch where they look like the bad news bears of basketball. They didn't have that stretch tonight.
Mhm.
They didn't have that stretch tonight, and most importantly, I think maybe only twice did Jason Tatum take his vaunted step back three-pointer from the left wing. Every other time, what I think is encouraging to me is that if they're not shooting well, if these shots aren't falling, they're like, all right, we're gonna go to the basket. Because I feel like the entire fourth quarter, Jason Tatum said, all right, I'm gonna go to the basket. And either I'm gonna get a layup or I'm gonna get fouled and go to the line. Right? Like that to me is like the maturity you would want to see from this Celtics team, especially because they've been in conference finals in the NBA finals year over year over year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And, a lot of credit goes to Brad Stevens as well for developing this roster, right? Because, before this, you had the Marcus Smart experience. So, he didn't help those runs that were going against him with some of the decision making and some of the shot selection that he had. Played hard, tremendously hard, but Drew Holiday gives you that same level of defense without the bad decision making. And so it's kind of easier to steady the ship. Now, we've still seen phases of them this year that have allowed runs to kind of go on longer than they should, right? But for the most part, you can tell that now you can kind of get the sense that this is a team that has been to the Eastern Conference Finals like 5 times, has been to the finals like twice. You know what I mean? Like now they look like a playoff experienced team playing against a team who a lot of these guys, it's their first time being this far in the playoffs.
You made me think about when you mentioned Marcus Smart and the difference between him and Drew Holiday. Fellas, or any of the listeners that are streaming us right now or going to listen to this later, have y'all ever had a car and your car didn't have no AC?
Yes.
mm-hmm.
And okay, kids, you feel me on this. You can testify on this. Did your car not have any AC during the Texas summer?
Yes.
So, Ken, do you remember just sweating like a Mississippi pastor day in and day out, having to roll the windows down? Damn, they got to be naked to drive the car, right? Because other than that, you just gonna have a stroke right there in the car. That feeling when you finally got AC in that car, it was like, Lord have mercy. This is what I've been missing my entire life. How have I lived? How did I do this before? I'm never going back. I think that's what the Boston Celtics are saying now that they got Drew Holiday. They were like, what the hell were we thinking? Just let Marcus Smart be the point guard, right? Because they're like, dog, everything is so much easier now. And I think that was always the move that we felt they needed to make in a very similar way, like the Clippers with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, where it's like, all right, they need a point guard, right? And now that they have one, I mean, they tried the Malcolm Brogdon thing a couple years back. That didn't quite work, right?
Yep.
They got Drew Holiday, and what did they give up to get Porzingis? I think it was like Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
I think
it was a 3-team deal.
Because it was Memphis, Washington, and Boston. They gave up Marcus Smart and Got back KP.
And I think Memphis gave Washington Tyus Jones.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
So I'm like, man,
I gave up Marcus Smart and a second round pick to the Wizards.
oh man, dog. They got KP for a Subway coupon. Basically, is what you're telling me. And they got Drew Holiday for what they give up a 1?
And basically that was like obviously Milwaukee got Dame, so they felt like they won it, but they also helped one of their rivals get much
Robert
better.
Williams.
Yeah, and Robert Williams, right? So, man,
dog, talk about how angry you think Milwaukee got to feel, right? They were number 1 in the East, fired Adrian Griffin, then hired
Doc.
hired Doc Rivers, who I swear, for God, Doc Rivers has to have naked pictures of somebody. Doc Rivers has to have blackmail on somebody because I've never seen a black man get fired and he keep a job. That's one thing we can say about Doc Rivers.
He is gonna keep a job,
bro. You always know that there's somebody in your neighborhood or at the church or whatever. They don't keep a job long, but they always on to the next one. You know, they just laid me off. It didn't quite work over there, but you know, I'm be over there at this plant next week. I'm be over there at Centerpoint. Don't you worry. It's gonna be just a quick week or so. I don't have to check. Doc Rivers is gonna stay with a check. Doc Rivers and LaToya Luckett are basically the same damn person. Because one thing I know about LaToya Luckett, she gonna be on them. Mama, I want to sing church plays. She gonna be on. She gonna keep her job, okay? But God bless you. God bless you. So, all right, we can go to some of the fan questions and the fan comments. This is the time of the show where our folks who are on the live stream with us, we appreciate you guys. Put your questions in the chat about anything related to Game 2 of the finals, what we think is going to happen in Game 3, anything else basketball related to that matter. So Maya asks, where do you think the Mavericks failed in the second half? Lamar, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, I just think again it was just Luka. I mean, Luka, not really keeping everything going in the first half. He had a hot first half, but he kind of cooled down in the second half there, and nobody was really able to pick it back up there. I mean, the good thing is, yes, you do have your starters that were able to get in double-digit points, but it looked like at one point the only person that was really doing anything was Daniel Gafford there, and that kind of what doomed the Mavericks there, that case here, and especially you letting the Celtics come back in the ball game.
And I thought Luka, a lot of the time this year where, Luka's played well in the first half and then Kyrie comes and closes the deal, right? And Gafford played well. He gave you production, but you're looking for that second player because the way that they are set up is kind of like LeBron and Kyrie in 2016. It's also kind of like Chris Paul and James Harden. Like, those two have to give you a consistent production, and then you're hoping that the role players will fall into place. But if one of those two is not giving you the production, especially this late in the playoffs, more than likely, if that other player is not giving you 40 or 50, they're not going to win, especially against a great team like Boston.
You know what that made me think about, Ken? I don't know if y'all heard it on the broadcast, but they said Jason Kidd told PJ Washington he's going to have to play like Magic Johnson. And I was like, what? Pete?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Huh? I'm like, okay, did he just, did he go on one of them Aaron Rodgers retreats over the weekend and come back and have this revelation? Because I'm like, yo, he got to be smoking rocks to think this is a good idea, right? But I think Kyrie Irving is the reason the Mavs failed in the second half. Point blank period. Like, if Umar Irving don't figure it out, if he don't sage the court, if he don't, take his medications prescribed to him by Dr. Sebi or whoever else, read him a self-published book, and come back and hoop, this going to be a wrap in 5 or 6.
Yep.
I think Dallas is going to get at least one. in
I'll be quiet.
probably most likely game 3, because this is, what do they call it, a pivotal game 3. This is a pivotal game 3. You've lost your first 2 on the road. You got to win game 3 to make this a series. So I think this whole thing falls on Kyrie Irving. So we got another question. Jasmine asked, have we watched the new clip documentary about the LA Clippers on Hulu?
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. I saw Austin Rivers. I saw Austin Rivers give a take on this, and I thought he was spot on. I love Lawrence Fishburne. I do. I can name the many roles he's played, from Furious Styles, right?
Yeah.
Higher Learning, Ike Turner, right? He's not Doc Rivers. Dear God. And the guy from P Valley that be with Uncle Cliff, that be with Uncle Clifford.
Right? Yeah, Lil Murder.
You cannot convince me that this is Chris Paul. DeAndre Jordans didn't have braids in that year. Like, what are we doing?
Bro, I knew this was going to be a mess when I saw the original casting, and I was like, oh, Lord have mercy. Then I remembered something. This is the same network that tried to tell us that had Cuba Gooding Jr. play O.J. Simpson in The People versus O.J.
Hey, now that was a fantastic series.
It was a fantastic series, but you trying to tell me that radio?
Is that the last time we've seen a sane Cuba Gooding Jr.?
I think it was, because that was right before.
Shortly after, that's when he put that KFC bucket on his head.
Yes. That is. He lost his mind. Look, I don't know what it was about playing O.J. Simpson.
He lost it after that.
Been off the deep end.
He lost it after that. God.
I have not watched the series. I have been waiting to watch it. I feel like it's going to be one of those where I need to have a drink or 3 or 4, because I want to laugh when I watch this. Ken, this is real similar to how me and you, we talk about having a couple and then watching Lean on Me. I feel like it's going to be like that, where I'm going to want to be there because I want to get the full experience, because I can't take any of this seriously. Did you see who they had play Klay Thompson and Steph Curry?
Oh, yeah, that was ridiculous.
Oh, my God.
Like, here's the thing. If I didn't watch any NBA basketball, I would think that the show was good. Because, like, the substance, like, I feel like, it's good stuff on the show, right? But knowing, like, I was there, I know how these people look. This is ridiculous. And we just watched Showtime last year. That's really the problem here. Showtime set us up with great expectations, right? Who do we have to play Norm Nixon? Let's get his son. You know what I mean? Who looks just like him. Not these random wahoos that are just walking around here like, let me get this light-skinned man. He doesn't even look like he's close to 6'9".
Oh.
Yo, they could have got for Klay Thompson, they could have got that dude that snuck on the floor that time with the Warriors and said he was Klay Thompson. He looks
Call John B.
Yeah. Look, they call John B. Look, he ain't doing nothing. He on one of them tours with Bobby Valentino and Keith Sweat.
John B. would do better than this guy. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't know. Sorry, I had to say it.
Ben Savage.
I had to do
Ben Savage got to be available. Just give him a 10.
Bro, it's bad. It's really bad.
It's bad.
I just want to know this, right? There's one, I'm gonna watch this series, and I'm really watching it for a couple of key moments. I'm praying to Almighty God. And Ken, you probably know where I'm going. Lamar, you probably know where I'm going to.
Exactly where you're going.
I hope they recreate that Donald Sterling and Anderson Cooper interview. Because that interview is up there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on YouTube after we get done here on the live stream and look up Anderson Cooper, Donald Sterling interview. and just let it wash over you, because that is up there with that interview Robert did with Gail. It's up there with that interview Ike Turner did.
Mm-hmm.
Big Magic Johnson.
Big Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
Now I will say, the person that has played Donald Sterling is doing it well. The person that's playing his mistress is playing that well as well. I will give them credit. They are playing the roles. But the basketball players and no, it's not.
It's about as bad as the football on All American.
Yeah.
It's
and then
about
the basketball scenes, like, what are we in High School Musical? Like, I cannot stand bad sports scenes. And again, this is where we were spoiled with Showtime, right?
Yeah.
They actually had people that look like they could play basketball. You know what I mean? That look like, oh, they could be basketball players. They're changing the camera quick every time somebody's bringing the ball up the floor. Blake Griffin is doing layups. When? What have we?
Can I ask y'all this?
Oh man!
Please don't tell
Can
me
I ask y'all this?
What's up?
Now, look, I've never seen it either, but what ways do you think it could be even worse than the train wreck it is right now? Putting it on Tubi?
Oh, this is basically
Oh,
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. This looks like a Tyler Perry production. Because FX, I assume, has a lot of money. And they can find very athletic looking people who can pull this off. The people who I know were expensive were Lawrence Fishburne, and since getting on P Valley, I'm pretty sure Lil Murder's been able to ask for a little bit more money. But the rest of these folks, who are these people? Like, for the dude who I saw they had playing Draymond Green, it's the same thing they do when they have someone play Notorious B.I.G. When it's time for somebody to play Notorious B.I.G., they just get a fat, big black dude. He don't look nothing like Biggie. Nothing. They just got a heavy set, darker black guy.
They could find somebody like the guy they had playing Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. Like, Jamal Crawford ain't never had no hair on his head. Like, he's always kept the real short, low cut. Like, these are important things. Like I said, DeAndre Jordan didn't have cornrows till I was in college. Like, this is 2013. Doc Rivers just took over the team. And I went back. I said, maybe I'm crazy. I went back, and I'm currently watching the playoff series that they were in that year. Like, just to make sure I'm remembering things correctly here. JJ Redick ain't got no tattoos. Like, just a random white guy, right? But again, what I'm going to keep being tuned in for is the substance of the show. Like, I'm not gonna lie, some of the dialogue in the first couple of episodes, I'm like, no way this is real. Because if it is, there's a reason why y'all didn't win.
Dog, it's because they based the series off of a 30 for 30 podcast that Ramona Shelburne did about Donald Sterling.
For sure.
About 4 or 5 years ago. So, no, those stories about Donald Sterling are real as steel. Like, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if they've, like, they've had the scene where Donald Sterling takes his rich white friends to see the players come out of the shower yet.
Yep.
Oh, okay. But you're like, I know you saw that. I'm like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that part was crazy. And then, like, I wasn't even, like, the Donald Sterling thing, and then, like, just the team dynamic, like, with Doc Rivers, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what my perception of it was as a 15, 16-year-old kid, but them dudes really didn't rock with each other like that. When he got there, then they was never going to win.
No, not at all. So we got another fan question. Stone asks, Who do we think is the early favorite
Ooh,
for Finals MVP? Lamar, what you got?
ooh. Man, man. So I was looking at the box scores for both of these games, man, and I'm like, dare we say Jalen Brown? But then again,
Maybe.
KP, shoot, you could even say at this point Drew. It's very interesting. I think from the if we're talking about from the offensive perspective, um, Jalen Brown so far has really done a very solid job in this series. But you can tell that getting back KP it's taking the Celtics up to a new dimension, even off the bench. And like you said, even the fact that Drew, I mean, he really didn't have a bad game one, but in game two, I mean, he really continued to show his value and everything. So, um, you're one of those three guys, I think.
I don't think there is a clear cut favorite right now. Like you said, I mean, I guess if it stopped right now, it might have to be Jalen Brown, but KP has had a great game. Drew Holiday has had a great game. I think they're waiting on, like Alex said, one of their stars to have one. But Jalen Brown has kind of been the most consistent over the two games, and he's also taken the challenge of guarding Luka majority of the time. Um, so I would kind of give the nod to Jalen Brown, but nobody has really established himself yet or had multiple finals moments where that's his finals MVP to lose.
I'm with you guys. Like at least with the first two ball games, it kind of feels like so that 2014 finals that San Antonio won, right? Throughout that entire series, I kind of was like, okay, I'm not sure who the finals MVP is, right? Because it was such a team effort, right? It wasn't as if one guy just flat out dominated, right? It ultimately went to Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard played really, really well that series. But for me, it wasn't just like it's got to be Kawhi, right? Right now, for me, I'd go Drew Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd go Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday is he might be their he might be leading them in scoring at least through these first two ball games.
Mm-hmm.
Leading them in scoring, playing great defense as well. Like, and I think something that I don't say it's been lost is that between Drew Holiday and Derek White, they're playing phenomenal defense on Luka and Kyrie. Luka's gonna get his 30 odd points, but you just got to chalk that up to the game. Ain't really nothing you can do. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go Drew Holiday right now.
Okay.
We got another fan question. Jasmine asked, do we have any early draft predictions? Ooh, all I know is this draft class is cheeks. There's no big parlay Victor Wembanyama in this draft. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the Spurs have 2 picks in the top 10, and I have no idea what we should do except trade one of them and get some better guys around big parlay. Hopefully, Trae Young. Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't really I don't really know. I know that Alex Sarr kid is supposed to be the guy, number one or two. Um, but I have no clue. Like, I want the Lakers to trade the pick unless you know, maybe Zach Edey falls there to 17. But other than that, it's not too many guys. I'm like, I think that dude's gonna be a star in this league. You know, it's some guys like that might be pretty good role players, but I don't know. I'm not too high on this draft either. I don't think anybody really is.
Yeah, same. I'm not too keen about it. I mean, I think the only things I can really think about this draft, I feel like, is if I'm the Houston Rockets, I'm trading the third pick just to
Yeah.
get myself a veteran to really
Yeah.
help out your team. Um, I'm thinking, shoot, Pistons can't really mess this one up at the fifth pick, and at least they can get themselves some decent role player. And I feel like the Miami Heat are going to find some type of open box special that they normally do and work some voodoo and make him the best player of value in the draft for some whatever reason, because that's what Pat Riley does. So I guess that's it.
I had another question for you. This has been floated around. I've seen it on social media the last couple of days of a trade that would send Brandon Ingram to the Houston Rockets.
Including that third pick?
Yes.
I can see it. I don't know if he's the veteran player that they need.
I
It's
mean,
gonna be interesting for New Orleans.
yeah, New Orleans is in a really interesting spot because
They are.
we finally got as much of a full season from Zion as we've gotten so far. He didn't, of course, he wasn't able to play in the playoffs because he blew a tire.
Mm-hmm.
But do you decide to continue to build or try to build this around Zion? Or because my thought would be you do, because they have a really good setup. Like their top 3 players are really good. Right. And I think CJ McCollum is one of those guys. He's kind of like Kristaps Porzingis. If CJ's your best player, yeah, you ain't gonna win too much, right? You're a lottery team. CJ's your second best player, you'll make the playoffs, your second round at best, like they were with in Portland with Dame and CJ. If CJ's your third best player, you should be cooking with gas.
Oh yeah. If
Should,
CJ's your third or fourth best player, you are a contender.
Yeah, man, y'all are hooping. But they've just had rough luck. But I think they've got a skeleton of a really good basketball team. Zion, Brandon Ingram, CJ, Herb Jones, the Alvarado guy coming off the bench playing good defense. Like they've got the skeleton of a really good team. I think Willie Green's a pretty good coach. Valanciunas, they still got him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think
they're probably gonna let Valanciunas walk, but the Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, that combination is kind of what's pushing Brandon Ingram out the door, because Herb Jones is an elite defender. Trey Murphy is starting to be an elite shooter at 6'9". So you got a 6'8" and 6'9" next to Zion. We really don't have space for somebody that's going to hold the ball in isolation situations. And so get him out of there, maybe get a young player that can help fit the mold. And they've got a lot of wings already. And what they probably need is like a really good floor general with Zion, to kind of get those guys the ball in certain spots, which you can make an argument that a lot of teams need that. But they're probably going to get rid of Valanciunas, maybe get a better floor spacing 5 or a rim protecting 5 next to Zion to kind of hide his limitations. And yeah, like you said, it's a very interesting spot, but it's like if we can make one or two minor adjustments, we can go from like a play-in team to conference finals team. Like that's how vast like these two spots that they're in can change things. Because we've seen stretches where like they're a top 4 team in the West.
Yeah.
Zion goes down, somebody else goes down, they fall into the play-in. So like they're not too far, but if they can make these moves, they can be like really scary good.
So we got another question. Have we been watching the W? I have, even though I have had to get back on my dad's Xfinity because WNBA.
Oh,
see, Ken, you're not up on the lingo.
I'm not up on the lingo.
I have been, look, in order to watch the WNBA, I have had, because their TV deal is cheeks. I tell you, cheeks. Mm-hmm. If it's not on ESPN, I gotta get on my dad's Xfinity. I hope he's not listening to this because I don't think he knows I still have his password. But hopping on Xfinity, I gotta get on NBA TV. Or somebody else told me something else is on Amazon Prime, so I'm running over there to try to get that tapped in. And then I got a streaming service on my TV, and I can get all the games for free. So I've been watching what I can, and man, I must say, extremely compelling basketball. Extremely compelling. Caitlin Clark, she's struggling. And I think the fact that she's struggling should show people how great the women are that are in the WNBA. And I will make the argument that to make the WNBA, like that is the toughest league to make in professional sports because there are so few teams. Like there are people who are first round picks in last year who aren't in the league now. I remember Chelsea Dungy got drafted top 5 by the Wings a couple years back. The next year she was released. She out of the league. She's coaching at University of Troy now. It was a wrap, right? Like that's how good the women are that play in the WNBA. And so that's why when folks just thought Caitlin Clark was going to waltz up in there and just put up 35 and 40 points like she's playing Wisconsin on a big Monday, I'm like, no, that's not how this works here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's tough. And, we kind of talked about it earlier, like the schedule that they're on is crazy to get started. And I'm sure she's going to get acclimated to it. And she's started to have some stretches where she's playing better. But the league has, and I'm not going to say it's never had it before because they've had some great players, but the league has like some parity now. Like everybody's tuned in to Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, right? Like these ladies have brought some, I don't want to say drama, but they brought some more interest to the game where people that just watched it before for basketball are now more people are tuned in to watch it for, let's see what Caitlin Clark does, or let's see what's going on now. Like, let's get tuned in to see what these rookies are doing. So I love it. I love it for the game, and I hope it keeps growing the game. So,
Lamar?
Yeah, same. I love it for the game as well because, I think this rookie class has really been standouts. I mean, obviously you have Caitlin, who's been the biggest draw and everything else like that. But, I've been also interested in seeing what the Sky do, obviously with Angel Reese. I've been also interested in seeing what the Sparks do, especially with Cameron Brink, who I feel like got drafted in a very good situation right then and there. Not just only for the fact for obviously her looks, but being also in LA, but she can poop and ball as well. And then some of the other players, like I think the Peely girl who's now playing for the Minnesota Lynx. I mean, I got a chance to see how she played when she was in Utah. Looked like a very good player there, and she's kind of translated it even to this point right here and there. So it's been kind of interesting to see how the teams have been looking. I mean, I know my wings are struggling right now because we don't have Satu. She's hurt, and I know Enrique's been really balling and everything else like that. But it continues to show how tough the league is, and I think a part of that is also including in the Olympics. It looks like our the list of 12 right now did not include Caitlin Clark, and a lot of people are even going ahead and saying, "Well, shouldn't you just include her because a lot of people just will get a chance to see the game?" But it's like, yo, like you look at the 12 that they have on this list right here. Like, who are you taking out in favor of Caitlin Clark? Like, I feel like you can even have a list of snubs that you probably have here. And I would say that we would probably still do decently well in the Olympics of people that might have been considered but didn't get in. So it's tough. It's tough.
And I'll say this about the Caitlin Clark thing with her not making the Olympic team. If I was Caitlin Clark, I would be like, thank God I didn't make the Olympic team, because that finally means, she can get a break, because she has been rolling and playing basketball week in, week out, basically every single day, starting like early October to right now. That's 8 months straight
Mhm.
of basketball. Like she went right from the college season where they had a week or so off. They got drafted. You roll right into training camp and right into another slate of games. And to add the idea that she would add the Olympics into that and then have to finish the WNBA season, that is literally a year straight up. Well, it might not. They might not. I'll say this: the Fever ain't gonna roll in October because they're not any good. But that is almost a year straight of playing basketball. Like at a certain point, physically you need a break, as well as I will say, mentally she probably would welcome a break as well, because all of the conversation that is happening around her, 98% of which is happening in her name that has nothing to actually do with basketball, but more about what we think. And I say we, I mean society thinks about women, and what society thinks about white and black women is dominating the conversation. She didn't ask for all of that. Right. And I will say to the people who are like, why don't y'all stick to sports or XYZ? It's hard to stick to sports when y'all bring y'all racism to the arena with you too. I would like to. But y'all look, but damn it, y'all don't let us have no fun. Y'all don't let us have no fun. I would love to just watch basketball and be good. But you folks don't know how to act. They just don't. And might I add one more thing? All those folks who are saying put her on the Olympic team because she's the most popular player, it's like, ain't these the same folks who in this election in November gonna be talking about everybody needs to earn their spot, needs to earn your fair share and pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Ain't these the same folks? Wow. That's all. I'm off my soapbox now. Kid, I'm just saying, like, this is the part, like, that I ain't gonna lie, that frustrates me so much. I'm like, guys, come on. Because my thought is, because folks are like, well, she could have been like Christian Laettner was on the 92 Dream Team. It's like Christian Laettner was clearly the best college basketball player that year. Everybody always says Shaq, and it's like we think about Shaq as Shaq now, right? But Shaq has said for years, nah, Christian Laettner should have been on that team. Christian Laettner was a better college player than I was, right? And Christian Laettner didn't play. So what would be the point of putting her on the team? The only people who would have a vested interest of putting her on the team would be Nike, because they're trying to sell them some shoes. But on the court, let's be real. The U.S. women's national basketball team is probably the most dominant outfit that we have. Without Caitlin Clark on the team, oh, they're going to just win by 60 points and not what? 62. She's not going to make that much of a difference. We going to run over Croatia or whoever else.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, sure, I was looking at some players that would have got a chance to get in there as rookies. Like I was looking at Anthony Davis's rookie year when he got into the 2012 Olympics, and I think Breonna Stewart's rookie year when she got into the Olympics, and they really didn't play that much. Like they really didn't play that much. So let's just say you put her on the team, Caitlin gets 7-10 minutes a game or something like that, but dominates pretty much all the talkingness. That's disrespectful to some of the other players that are in the game and everything else like that. So, like you said, it's good for her mental. It's good for everybody else here, and they can kind of get a chance to see what it is. And the good thing is, hey, the next Olympics are in LA. She can then have the good send off there if that's the case. If that's the case there, so
Absolutely. And that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Kennedy Miller,
Yes, sir.
gotta appreciate you for hanging out once again. Where can the folks find you? Twitter, Instagram, all of that, man.
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
Lamar Gafford, appreciate you for hanging out once again. This is your third year in a row hanging out with us during the NBA Finals and during these post-game live streams. Where can the folks find your work?
absolutely. You can find my work at sunlawpreps.com. You can find me at Lamar Gafford and on Twitter, all in one word as well here. And yeah, I've just been enjoying this thing here, even though my team is down 0-2. Definitely have enjoyed it. It's always great breaking bread with you guys.
Appreciate it. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Timberwolves, S as in Sam, like Sam Hauser, M as in Mavericks, like the Dallas Mavericks, who are down 0-2 to the Boston Celtics. Follow the show on Instagram at _the Game Plan Podcast. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our official Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel where you are watching this here live stream. Wherever you're listening and watching, however you are listening and watching. We appreciate you guys for listening and for watching. For Kennedy Miller and Lamar Gafford, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys after Game 3. You guys take it light.